Hello, and welcome back to Pernell and Matt Play Games. I'm Pernell.
I'm Matt.
And today we're here with a very special episode.
Yeah, we're going to return to our normal programming in a little bit, but before we do that, we wanted to have a public service announcement.
An after-school special, if you will.
Right. We've noticed some recent worrisome trends in the gaming community that we wanted to address.
Are we going to talk about Gamergate?
Not interested. Not interested.
Games journalism?
Kind of. Today we're going to cover how to read a game review.
Now we're talking. That's
right.
Stuff.
So this is an idea that you came up with. So what exactly did we want to cover?
Well, the thing about it is lately I'm just seeing a lot of scenarios where people are just like flipping out, going rampant over some of these reviews that are popping up for reasons that honestly make absolutely no freaking sense to me.
Right. There's certain people on the internet who it's their hobby to go on the internet to be mad on the internet. If they find a review that they don't agree with, oh good, now I found something I can be mad about and I'm going to spew my anger onto the internet. This is not for those people, because I mean, if that's your hobby, that's cool.
Hate to your heart's content.
Right. This is more for the people in the middle ground who aren't really quite angry but are still trying to get information out of these reviews, but maybe are having a little bit of trouble extracting the information that they need.
Now, we're probably going to come up with a certain number of ideas as things you can look at as to determine what makes a review tick. Okay, number one, fuck numbers.
Review scores and stuff like that?
The very same.
Yeah.
Fuck numbers.
Right. Now, look, Metacritic, you can maybe look at all the numbers as an aggregate. If all the numbers are in the 90s, then you're like, okay, it's probably a game that appeals to most people. If there's numbers that are high and low, then maybe that doesn't mean that the people who scored it low are idiots necessarily, or the people who scored it high are shills, but maybe that it's a divisive game. Maybe it has something for some people, and maybe that doesn't apply to other people's tastes, or something like that. Is that what you're talking about?
Not 100%, but I do think what you're saying there. It's two problems. One, having a numbered rating on a score prevents people from taking the time to actually freaking read the thing, because all they see is a big numeric symbol that tells them this game rocks or this game rocks slightly less. The other problem that comes from the number system is that most review companies, both the reviewer companies and the organizations that request the reviews for their games, are misusing the numbers. Thereby, whereas a 5 should be average, all of a sudden now 5 accounts to not as shitty, but still pretty shitty shit. Right. It's not worth it, and it's not worth acknowledging. So, I feel
this game is completely broken. 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Prime example.
So,
and what game was that review from?
I think it was a guy from Joystick. He reviewed the Halo Master Chief Collection for Xbox One. I think he reviewed it before it was released everywhere. Still noted that the multiplayer was kind of broken, but gave it a 4.5 out of 5. And then a few months later, wrote a long editorial about how it's ridiculous that we're paying for broken games. But they didn't go back to fix the score on the broken game that he was talking about. So the numbers really don't mean anything at this point. So,
and if you just read the
who cares
review,
about numbers?
Yeah, and if you just read the review will tell you in detail this multiplayer component is not up to code.
Right.
Therefore, saying if you're here for multiplayer, don't knock because it's not listening until further notice.
Right.
That's the idea you're running with here. So that number ultimately didn't mean shit to anybody. So numbers, fuck them. We'll come back to this at another point, but that's what we want you to understand about the numeric rating system.
Right. Forget that.
Point number 2. Just because they don't like something that you don't like doesn't invalidate their opinion on a review.
It also doesn't invalidate the review on the whole. Let's take that Bayonetta 2 review.
Very good
for example. Do you want to take that example?
I can go with that. Basically, it was I believe it was Polygon that did it.
Right.
And the review discussed the game. They talked about the finer points, the attack, the battle system, how you could equip her arms, her hands, and her legs with different components of weaponry, enemy types, all that good stuff. But the reviewer made sure to note that the over-sexualization of the character did not appeal to them in a way that it could to some. And many people on the internet took that as a reason to call the review absolute shit.
The review said that the over-sexualization ruined the rest of the game for them. Not that other people might enjoy it, but that the over-sexualization was way too overboard and it ruined the rest. Now, that's their opinion, and that's fine. However, that doesn't mean that the whole review needs to be tossed out, because the rest of the review about the mechanics and stuff like that was pretty good. And to me, maybe all those shots of cleavage and stuff like that, to me, maybe that's icing on the cake. I definitely don't want that in every game, but every once in a while, maybe that's nice. So for me, I can take the parts of the review that I like, that apply to me, like, oh, the fighting mechanics seem really cool, and oh, even though he doesn't like that part of it, I think that might be kind of cool. So maybe that's something I might be interested in, even though they didn't like it.
And here's the beauty of it: 0.2, 0.5. Sometimes a negative is actually a positive. Like Matt just mentioned, over-sexualization in this game in particular ruined the game for this reviewer. Okay? When you read that, when Matt reads that, when he gauges from that is, doesn't bother me. In fact, this is actually kind of okay in this case. And he went with it.
I'm all right.
Therefore, the game is cool. There's nothing wrong with not liking it. And there's nothing wrong with liking it either.
Yeah.
It's a healthy balance there where people choose what they want to do. And another example would be something like, I don't know, games like Dark Souls, or to get more specific, Evil Within was a game that I played through recently on the PS4. And one of the reviewers that I had read the review for kind of hated on the game because they felt it was more difficult than Dark Souls 2, which I don't know about you, but I found that was not only hysterical for me to read, but it made me want to play the game more just to see how full of crap this guy was, if he was. I have since come to beat the game without upgrades or anything of the sort on the normal difficulty. Was it challenging? Yes, it was. Was it Dark Souls challenging? Not to me. However, reading that review that he didn't like the game for, with that point being that it was too difficult, to me is a bonus, because I like challenging games. If a game reviewer tells me something is too hard, that's my cue to buy it. I own 1001 Spikes. I own, what was it? La Mulana. Yep. Thank you, sir. La Mulana. I buy games looking for people to tell me they're too hard for them so that I can try them. Therefore, their negative is my positive.
Right. You put that in the pro column.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Point number 3, which I believe we'll let Matt take away.
Point number 3, use multiple reviews to help you form your opinion. If you want to find out about a game, maybe you don't own the game yet, and you want to find out about a game, find out if it's going to be for you, you know, you like I said with the Bayonetta review, you take the parts that apply to you and just let the rest fly by, and then maybe read a whole bunch of other reviews and take the other parts from the other reviews that apply to you and put it all together to get a bigger picture of the, you know, people's experiences of the game, to see if it would match the experience that you want to get out of the game.
Now, I would like to add to that point, another reason why you want to read multiple reviews for a game is because it allows you, through the use of critical reading, to determine what games reviews are padded fluff garbage and what reviews are hateful snuff-knucking. Now, when I say that, I mean, think of Rotten Tomatoes, okay? You can go to a review for a movie, find some 90s, some freshes. You can see some not-so-good 13% splatter green splop. And what does that mean? Some people hate it, some people liked it. Mash two together, you can kind of decide what some people liked, what some people didn't like, and come up with one concise overall opinion that might work for you. Right. It makes sense. It allows you to find trends and review the opinions of different people who most likely don't even freaking know each other. Now, why would we have this discussion? And here's my thought on it.
Okay.
The reason why you'd want to have reviewers reviewing games is because, one, reviewers do it for a living. They have access to more games to play at a time, and they have more time with which to play them. Right. They can invest more into them than we can, which allows them to take more things together to determine what game kind of fits the bill, what games don't.
Right. On the other hand, the one thing you have to remember is, even though they have maybe early access to these games, They have free access to all these games. They're playing a lot of games throughout the day or the week. In the end, they're just regular assholes like you and me. They're gonna have opinions on things that may not match up with yours, but they're just their opinions because they're just people. And I'm sure after a few months or maybe a year in that kind of industry, playing video games every day on a deadline and everything, they probably get pretty jaded and maybe don't see things the way that you might see them as your casual pastime that you just, want to pop something in and kick back and relax to.
I kind of see that too, though, but let's be honest for a second. Now, a lot of times when you see a review that does something like that, there are sort of telltale signs in a lot of ways that can tell you...
Does something like what?
Okay, that could lead into point number 4. Sometimes minute details don't mean crap. A jaded person playing a game might start touching up on a lot of topics that you really couldn't give two craps about in any way, shape, or form. It could be something like, I don't know, frame rate issues, where in cases where the frame rate decline isn't something that's going to hurt the game.
Right.
There are just a lot of issues that pop in reviews every once in a while where a person just starts to pick at it with a fine-tooth comb for reasons that, personally, I don't give a crap about. But when I read that stuff in the review, I scroll right on by because, frankly, I don't give a shit.
Right.
Now, when you factor that in, you can sort of understand where there's jadedness, where there's not so jadedness. So you might be wondering, why exactly would a person even bother going through the trouble of reading reviews at all, given the seeming amount of work that goes to it? I mean, we have rules we're talking about here.
Well, for myself, I mean, I have 2 kids. I have a 4-year-old who's clearly bringing home crazy illnesses from preschool. I don't have the money, for one, frankly, and I don't have the time to be buying all the video games that come out, and let alone play them, just to find out which ones are good and which ones aren't. It helps to have the opinions of some people who have a lot more time, have a lot more access to these games, to help me make my decision on the 1 or 2 games that I am going to get.
Right now, at least, thankfully, I have a good amount of money to buy new games, whereas time, on the other hand, is a factor in its own that I'm pretty much low on. I don't have a great deal of time. Now, even still, my shelf has a ridiculous assortment of games on it. Just imagine what that shelf would be like if I didn't have reviews to go on to weed out some of the stuff that might not have been so kosher that did catch my eye prior to reading them. And who knows? You could still read it and go, screw it, I'm buying anyway. That's your prerogative and your choice to make in the end. But ultimately, also, you got to remember, I think I'm not sure if we touched on this earlier or not, but there are also the factor of people that like to come in along these things and read reviews and then go about finding evidence to dispute the reviews. Basically a form of confirmation bias where they just feel as though they need to seek out other people who share their opinion just to discredit someone else's opinion.
Right.
Which, in some respects, I won't lie, it's not exactly wrong. Heck, I do it sometimes too.
Right.
How about
me
you?
Too. I kind of put them in the same bin as the people who go on the internet to be angry on the internet. There's not really much we can do about that, and that's not really who we're talking to.
Exactly.
Today, I think.
So, what are the takeaways from this here? Critical reading and reading comprehension are key to making reviews work best for you.
Right.
And most importantly, don't be a dick. If you don't want to read reviews, that is totally fine. Again, your prerogative. Just ignore them. But don't read them just as a means to be a jerk about what they're saying. Just take it or leave it. Not rocket science. Just make the internet a better place bit by bit. And this is a great way to do it. On that note, if you feel as though you want to have any comments about what we just talked about, or you want to raise some topics of discussion, by all means, comment sections down below, get to typing, or even just get a contact us on our Facebook page. Anything to add, Mr. Matt?
Nope.
And there you have it. Have a good night. Not a good fight. Good night.